and welcome to Yoga by Now Jess. I'm Jess and today's class is restorative. So you will need a couple of props. Some yoga blocks are really handy if you have them, or a thick book or some cushions. A bolster if you have it, or a bed pillow or two, and a blanket. So go ahead and grab those things and then come back and join me on the mat. As I said, today's class is restorative, so we'll only be moving through a couple of poses, but we'll be spending quite a bit of time in each one. I love a restorative practice to help settle me if things have been particularly busy or chaotic and I just need a little bit of time for stillness, for rest. Then I love to jump into a restorative practice. So I hope that you enjoy this one as well. For our first pose, you're going to need a blanket at the top of your mat, just like a little bit of a pillow. You can move your bolster to one side and grab one of your blocks or a book. This will also work on a bolster if that's more comfortable for you. We're going to take a supported bridge. So start by coming down onto your back, setting the blanket under your head as a pillow and grabbing the block, pushing through the feet to lift up the hips and just letting the sacrum, the flat part of the base of the spine, your tailbone, rest onto the mat. You can keep your legs where they are and let the arms fall out to the side, palms facing up. Take up lots of space here. Maybe close the eyes. And let's mark the start of this practice with a big breath. Fill your lungs with an inhale, really big breath in. And a really big breath out. Do that again. Make this the biggest breath that you've taken all day. And a big sigh out. Good. Feel yourself sinking heavy into the mat, landing into the practice. And bring your awareness to your breath. Without judgment and without trying to change the breath, just notice. Notice if the breath is fast or slow. If it feels even, or maybe it's a bit all over the place. Notice where in the body you can feel the breath. Maybe you can feel it flow in and out through the nose. Or maybe you can feel the rise and fall of the chest. And maybe you're breathing deep into the belly. If it feels nice to stay here, then stay. Otherwise, I invite you to lengthen the left leg and then the right leg. You have the hips up a little bit higher. Notice where in the body you're holding tension. See if you can use the exhales to soften those areas. Take one more breath here. And then bring the left foot back onto the mat and then the right, and let the hips settle again here. Checking in with the body and seeing how it feels as you start to slow down, as you start to soften. Push through the feet to lift the hips up, and take the block or the bolster or whatever you have under the hips and gently roll the hips back down onto the mat. And stay here. Maybe it's nice to bring the hands onto the body. And now what do you notice? How do you feel in your body? Maybe how do you feel on an emotional level? Some days we come to our mats ready and it's easy just to drop in and sink into the practice. And other days it can take a little bit of time. The mind wanders. You need constant reminders to bring it back. And that's totally fine. Let's windscreen wiper the legs. Gently and slowly take the knees over towards the left. Pause. And then gently and slowly take the knees over to the right. And pause. Let's match movement with breath. So as you inhale, take the knees over to the left and use the full inhale to let the knees get there. Pause. And then exhale, the knees over towards the right. Use the full exhale. Pause. One more to each side, just like that in your own breath. Use the full length of the inhale. Pause. And the full length of the exhale. Pause. With your next inhale, bring the knees back through center. And then roll your whole body over onto your favorite side. You can add your arm as a pillow or fold up the blanket that you have under your head a little bit higher and come to a sleeping baby. And take a couple of moments rest here, closing the eyes again. Scanning the body and noticing any tension. And visualizing the exhale softening that tension, letting go, sinking a little bit deeper. Good. Whichever side you're laying on, use your top arm into the mat to help sit you up. Let the head be the last thing that comes up as you come to a seat. The next pose is one of my favorite poses. I find it really nourishing and comforting. So grab your bolster if you have one, or a couple of bed pillows. Sit on one hip and bring the pillows or the bolster against the hip. So you've got the knees out to this side. It can be really nice to place a blanket between the knees so you don't have bone on bone. And then I'd like you to twist the torso so it's almost facing the bolsters or your pillows, and leave the legs where they are. and start to fold forward over the bolster. And then place one cheek down. The arms can go beside the bolster, they can go on top, wherever feels comfortable. You have the option to face your face the same way as your knees, or you can turn the neck and face the opposite direction, whichever way is feeling most comfortable, and then settle. Take a big breath in and a big breath out, closing the eyes. Softening here. Taking a moment or two to land in this pose. Make any small adjustments that you need, and then try to find stillness. A few moments where you can just be. I encourage you to just stay in stillness in these poses. If the mind wanders, use the breath as an anchor. Again, noticing the inhales and the exhales. Now that you're in a different pose, where can you feel the breath? And how does the breath feel? For me, yoga is a lot about observing. Playing the role of the observer by watching, noticing, seeing what we can feel physically, emotionally. And trying to do that without judgment. Learning and accepting where we are in all the different moments of our lives. And take a big breath in. And a big breath out. Gently use your arms to bring you back up towards a seat. I'm going to take this to the other side. So for me, I like to just pivot my hips around. So I have the opposite hip into the bolster. Place the blanket back down. Sitting up nice and tall to turn the torso and then start to fold. And then choosing which side you'd like your cheek to rest on. Maybe it's different this time than it was before. Just playing around. As I said, I invite you into stillness. But if you have an itch that's so bad it's taking you away mentally from the relaxation, from the rest, then give it a little scratch, get it out of the way, and then come back. Take a moment or two to find your place in this pose, and then allow the rest to come. Allow the breath and just to be with you here in this moment. If thoughts come, let them come. Notice them, acknowledge them, and then let them pass on by. Notice the breath. And be here now. Use the exhales to soften. If any of these poses feel good and you want to spend a few more moments in them, then feel free to pause the video and stay, and then play again when you're ready to move on. Let's take a big breath here. And then use the hands to slowly and gently bring yourself back up. And take one last pose here. If you have a wall, that's amazing. This can be done without the wall. I'll show you both options. Bring your blanket and place the blanket against the wall. You can also do this with a bolster if that feels good. But sit, I have a plant in the way. Sit the hips up against the wall and start to bring the legs around. Lay down on your back. You may need to shimmy the blanket so that you can get your bum against the wall, the legs straight up. And again, take up space with the arms. Let them come out to the side, palms facing up. Relax the legs and close the eyes. As I said, if you don't have a wall, this can also be done away from the wall with a bolster or some blocks. Again, onto that flat part of the sacrum. And then just let the legs up towards the sky. You have to use a little bit of energy to keep the legs up as opposed to against the wall, but you'll find that it's much less than you think. Again, take up space with the arms. Either close the eyes or find a drishti, so a soft gaze at the toes. Take a breath to land. And then find stillness. Take a moment here of gratitude, first for yourself, for showing up, for giving this practice of yoga a chance to do something just for yourself. And then take a moment of gratitude for something external. Maybe something that made you smile today, or somebody that made you smile today. And bring one hand onto the heart, one hand onto the belly. Gently lower the legs. If your legs are up the wall, it's nice to roll over onto one side to bring the legs down. And then come back onto your mat and find Shavasana. Can, of course, take a normal Shavasana here, but seeing as you have lots of props around you, I like to put, too far away. I like to put a bolster, pillows under my knees, and then take my blanket and cover myself and take a super cozy Shavasana. Feel free to stay here for as long as you like. If you're ready to move on, bring the hands together. Place the thumbs at the third eye. Thank yourself for practicing. I thank you for letting me be your guide. Let's take one final breath together. Big breath in. And a big breath out. As I said, feel free to stay, to rest for as long as you like. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you very soon. Thank you.